Hey guys, how's it going? OSCO here, back with another video. Today I'm going to be covering sound design with Operator. This track is a relatively heavy dubstep track, and I'm going to be breaking down all the basses in blue, minus this first one because it's just a copy of all the other ones. Anyways, into the video. So yeah, let's go into this first bass here. So these sounds, to make them like really loud and aggressive, I've copied them over quite a lot. So there's quite a lot of layering going on here. So first of all, in my sub patch for this, I've just got a warm-up lows on here. Probably what I should have done in this patch is just thrown an EQ on the end here after putting the saturator on, and all those extra harmonics, just rounding them off. Let's hear the patch. So the lows aren't really coming through so much. I don't want to push it too much because it's getting distorted. And then I've got some mid layers going on here. So this is just a square wave that's been bandpassed around 200 to 400 hertz, no 600 hertz. So it's just filling in like the low mids. I've got another one filling in the upper end of the low mids, which is it's a variant of the saw. So it's a variant of a square. So it's only 3 harmonics of a square. So it's square 3. Being FM'd from a sine wave, and I've got that quite low. And then the top rack is pretty full frequency actually, but it's the effects frequency, so this is where all my effects are going on, so there's no subs in it. So think of this patch as like these three that I'm just going to colour red are one part of the bass, and then that's the other part. So let's jump into the routing of everything real quick. So in this patch I have a PDR filter on with a bit of drive, frequency is set quite low as you can see with a bit of resonance, and then my rate is 1/12 to put to 100, and what I've done is I've turned off all the destinations and set destination B to the volume here. So when I press down a key, if it'll let me play it. So it's just modulating the volume of the entire synth rather than the volume or the pitch, because it's automatically set to pitch or filter or something along here. If you turn all those off and set destination B to volume, then you'll be able to get that wobbling sound. Same for this one. The filter's set a little bit higher on this mid bass, and then the higher. So all these are pretty simple, and then the processing on this last one is where all the effects are in this sound. So I've just high passed up to 100 hertz. I could probably put it a bit higher. And then that's going into an amp, which is set on the boost mode. I've turned down the bass, turned up the treble, turned up the presence, set the output to dual instead of mono, because I want it to have 2 channels when it goes into the chorus later on. And yeah, set to boost, a little bit of gain. It's normally set to 5, I've boosted it a little bit. Put the dry wet down so it's not a totally distorted signal. EQ'd it again after that, because when you distort something it adds a bunch of harmonics below, so I've brought that back up again. Took out some of the harshness in the mids and rounded off the tops, because this filter adds quite, I mean, this distortion adds quite a lot of high end. So where this sound gets its like washiness from is the echo and the Yeoman. So if I turn these off, the Yeoman is actually a chorus preset, so if I go into here, you can see it's just there, Yeoman. And that's what it's like without the echo and the Yeoman. If I turn on the Yeoman, that's where it gets its you know, wide sound from. And then the echo, what the echo's doing is I've set it to half beats, triplets on both of them, a little bit of feedback, pulled the dry wet down, and then turned up this. If you click this little arrow here by the filter, it will show you your filter for the echo. And there's two nodes, so I've set the resonance to the maximum and placed it somewhere around the main area of the bass. And if you go into your modulation section, if you turn up the mod here, these bands will move around. I know you can't see it because Ableton's not the best at showing all of its UI that moves, but these lines here represent each filter, 1 and 2. So they're moving out of phase with each other over the period of time. You can set how much, so this filter mod here, the percentage shows how much it will move up and down the curve here. And so that with the chorus and like that, you know, delayed sound that sounds like washy as well, that's a combination of these two things together. So overall, the sound is like this. And when you let go, it has that decay, which is like strange and interesting. And then I've just boosted the upper mids and cut out the harsh frequencies where this is boosting the resonance. Now for the next synth. This one's a bit more simple, so I've just got a sub patch, same thing with the warm-up lows. The mid frequency is a square 3 again, but with a higher attack. So it's set to quite a high FM, but the attack on the operator is quite high. So if I play, so because the note's being played quite short, it doesn't get to reach its full volume. But if you play it for a short period of time, it just gets the sound that you want. And then on a high end, it's the same patch, but oh no, it's not the same patch, my apologies. It's so sine waves, so for A is a sine wave, B, sine wave again, you know, sloped attack, course is set to 2, and then the third operator that's modulating that is a square 64, which is 64 harmonics of a square wave, so it's nearly a full square but not quite, and that's set to a relatively low level with no envelope because it's modulating this one at the same time. I will do like a full breakdown of what FM synthesis is to get your head around it, but at the minute I'm just showing you some sounds that you can make with an operator and how I've processed them. So this high end one I've taken out, for the high end patch I've put in a high pass filter, an amp, and it's exactly the same as the one I showed you before with a Yeoman and an echo, but with this one the frequencies, I mean the feedback is set higher, and rather than set to halves, it's set to 1/8 notes, and the EQ curve is just set to taste to create a slightly different sound from this one. So yeah, if I go back and let everything through, so together those sound like this. And then after the small like call and response that's going on here, the phrase response is from here to here is a stabby switching up bass to then a long droned out bass. So this one It's just a simple sine wave with a pitch bend on it, set for 24. No fancy stuff going on here with the filter, I don't think. No. So yeah, just a pitch bend with a decay time of 1.5 seconds, and the peak is set to 24 semitones. Then the next patch is doing the exact same as the sub, but with a bit of FM going on. So we've got a sine that's being modulated on operated B with a course of 4, and then the one above that is another sine set with a really long attack time on the envelope, so that it changes over the course of the held note. If I bring that down, that'll be the final sound, but because it's being dragged out over time, it evolves. Now this high patch is, I think, identical to this one. Yeah, it's just with a shorter. No, sorry, it is identical to this one, but I've high passed the low end, put a Yeoman on. But what I've changed with the Yeoman is, if I drag another one in here, I've taken the rate down and I've put the amount up. So I've moved that like that, somewhere in that ballpark, and I've hit this little 20 button at like star 20 down there, and basically it just takes the chorus and amplifies the rate, I think, by 20 times. I think. I'm not entirely sure. What does this one do? Yeah, so it's an LFO multiplier. So this will multiply the modulation by 20% to achieve a more extreme sounds. Shout out to Dogkiller for showing me that one. It sounds really cool. Like without it, sounds like this, and with it, yeah. Then just some EQing to get rid of some of the harshness, OTT to put some more harshness back in, a rectifier, and more EQing, and then just boosting to make it all sound, a bit harsh. Because these two sounds are quite tame. I just feel like it needed some grit on the top end. Now for this sound, really basic FM patch, so just a sine wave being modulated by another sine wave, but the the envelope is short attack, short decay, so it went from this, I just dragged out a little bit, brought that down, and moved out there. Yeah, and then what I've done is I've set the loop feature on sync and made it 1/12, so it matches all the LFOs that are going on here with these synths. So that creates that looping effect. If I turn that off, so it's none, it's just 1. But if I set it to sync and then yeah, there we go. And then it's just a basic chain of nothing happening on one chain, so one chain's dry, and the other chain is just another chorus being sent into an amp, which has been high passed, just to accentuate that high note. And then that's run through a reverb on my send here, which is just a low pass going into a reverb. And then these basses are just variants of what's going on up here. So I'm not going to go into how these sounds are made. They're pretty much the same. Just what's different from this for this is I've set an LFO here to the volume and set that to 12. And then I've just moved around the EQs and added some saturators and stuff to make it sound a little bit more aggressive on the mids. And the highs are almost the same, except that I've got a auto filter that's set to the same 112 beats, and it's got quite a high resonance on it, and I've offset the LFO so it's moving at a different pace to the rate of the one below it. So it's got that bubbly effect that I went over in the deep dubstep tutorial. And yeah, if you want me to open up this project and go into like a specific bass, like really in detail, let me know. What I'll probably do is record another video now going over how to construct a single bass, and I might upload that tonight or tomorrow. And just go over like basic sounds, so like maybe respaces, basic FM patches, just sort of like the fundamental sounds for making dubstep, and then you can go off and create different variants like this, or if you want me to create specific sounds from tracks, let me know and put it in the comments. If you guys don't already know, I'm going to be doing a giveaway of Sublab on Monday, so if you go to my mastering tutorial, I'll link it at the end of this video. Comment and like that video for your chance to win a license key of Sublab, and yeah, subscribe and peace.